Come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Friday.
I admit I was torn. I know that that's how we traditionally open the show, and so I went ahead and traditionally opened the show with it. And John definitely working on technical stuff because I was trying to send an email on the other computer. At the same time, I was trying to get the show started on this computer. So, of course, I'm thinking I'm typing on one computer, and I, in fact, was typing on the other. So there you go. And so there you go. No. So there it is. So good morning, everybody. Morning, Abby. Good to see Abby yesterday as I was getting my Club World Cup credential. Full disclosure, Abby had to put up with stuff breaking, and I didn't have anything to do with it. I had nothing to do with it, people. Nothing. You can blame me, but I mean, unless it started before I got in there, it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. Guarantee you it was not my fault. Not my fault at all. So that was not me. Not me. So we'll go over what happened last night. Here's the rundown for today. We do have sound from Ronny Deila. We do have the call. And yes, we do have to talk about the call. We'll get into that. The sound that we have from Ronny from Post is somewhat long, but I think it's important to listen to. And we have two separate versions of the call, capital T, capital C, that I believe changed game state. And I know we talk about game state, and I know that a lot of times you guys are tired of hearing about it. But I think it's important because of what happened last night and going into how things evolved and how things were different. And if a moment happens, then in turn, something else may or may not happen. I know ifs and buts and candy and nuts, we all had a Merry Christmas. I know, I understand that. But at the same time, I think that if you have a moment occur in the 14th minute, as it should have, and I know that Bart mentioned last night after the match that he would be available today, but this one's pretty much a slam dunk. And probably what we will do on Monday is go over this call and goal number 2 and go over them individually, because I think if you look at the second possible goal for Atlanta United, I think Jamal touched it because you see Derek looking at Jamal and having an elevated audio conversation with Jamal on it. So it looked like it was going in. I think Jamal touched it. Jamal was in an offside position, and it would have been 2. But we'll probably go over that stuff on Monday and find out what other oopsies occurred on the weekend when Bart comes back and joins us on Monday at 10. So we do have the call. Capital T, capital C. We've got the short version. We have the longer version. And we'll probably end up playing the longer version as attached to everything. We'll go over the stats. We'll go over the numbers. Neil Sika is set to join us at 10 o'clock. Neil called the match on Apple TV last night. And we'll get his thoughts on the match itself, the first 45, then giving up 3 goals in 4 minutes. And then it was pretty much over at that point. We'll go over his thoughts on Atlanta United. We'll go over his thoughts on the first half of the season, getting ready for the second half of the season. Then after Neil at 10:30, 10:20 or so, what we'll do is we'll get you ready for the rest of the weekend. We'll go through all the matches. Weekend Whip Around is there. All your AM news is there. We've got transfer news, all the things. So that's kind of where we are this morning. There you go. Once again, it was Sergi Boyko, and we've had our fill with Sergi Boyko in the past, and there were a couple of things that we can get into involving Sergi Boyko, specifically the idea of weak whistles or late whistles, and I'm going to write it down so I don't forget, because when you're a player and when you have a center ref who isn't authoritative, and especially isn't authoritative in his calls or his use of the whistle in a bandbox or in a U12 pitch at the 106/68, if you've got a bunch of fire jets on a washer dryer, whatever analogy you want to use. If you're not authoritative and if you're not on your game, and you can sense in environments like this that we know as viewers of the game, when there is something going on at Yankee Stadium, you have to be on. You've got to be on. You cannot be off. You've got to be almost that much more attentive and have attention to detail. You've got to be like ready to go because it's going to be bouncing around all. It's like, pinball from hell, and you've got to be ready for it for a full 90 minutes. Atlanta United was in the first 45. And like I said, Ronnie addresses this after the match. And like I said, we'll get into the post-game comments here in a bit. And like I said, they're longer than normal. And I thought it was important to hear them from Ronnie on a couple of different questions. They're important in the grand scheme of things. And so it will be an elongated listen on Ronny Deila, and then we'll get into the call, the play, capital T, capital C, or capital P, however you want to phrase it. We do have that. So I may not waste a whole lot of time in getting into Ronny Deila this morning. But where Sergi Boyko is concerned, once again, in a situation where you've got to be on, Boyko was very reactive. There were times when he was very late in his calls. And then there were times where in the administration of the whistle, it was just kind of like, Nah, you've got to be on it. You've got to be like, wah. You've got to be on it that way. And so that is that there are things philosophically on Monday that we will get into with Bart just because of the lack of time we have this morning to get into things. So I'm not going to waste any time. Here's Ronny Deila after the match. Like I said, it's a little longer than normal, but I think it's worth it. So once again, courtesy of Atlanta United, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Here's Ronny after the match last night, head coach Ronny Deila of Atlanta United.
Everybody do mistakes, okay? So this is not about Brooks. We have done it many times this season. New York City have had 8 chances on us in 2 games. They have scored 7 goals. You go through these goals, and you will think like, what is this? The problem, that what is embarrassing is what happens after break. Because the first half, we have a goal that is offside. Maybe I haven't seen it again. We have a penalty situation. We hit the post. We had another situation in a set play of a big chance. They have nothing, and then we give them 1-0. But then we go out, and I don't see enough belief that this is can we do. I don't see. I talked all week, all year about togetherness, desire to win. I don't see that. So that I have to look at myself. So this I have to take responsibility for. So this is, I don't know what to say about it. It's like, it's really embarrassing, and it's nothing to do with New York City to do. This is whatever we meet, and you come out with 4-0 in this game, and the way we do it, that is not an organized team. That is not a disciplined team. That is not a team that stands together and fight for each other. So that's difficult to handle. Very difficult to handle. I have to say that. You need to play 95 minutes with that discipline. First half, we can't do so much more. We can just put the ball in the net. There's things that we can do better, of course. but we are a better team than them right now. And I think here we have a very good chance. So it's a big task now. I'm a fighter. The question is, are we believing in this? Do we want this? Are we coming together? Are we getting better? That is the big answer. At home, I'm not worried. With the fans we have and with the stadium, everything, and when we win, we score 3-4 goals. We are capable to do that, and we are better than the opponents almost every time at home. Away, then you have to show character. You have to show discipline. You have to show communication, body language, information. And I see a team that is dying the longer the game goes through. And that is painful to watch. And I'm responsible for that.
When you say that you're responsible, what does that mean? How do you? Y'all had.
I have to take the responsibility. There's like, if I don't get the best out of the players, then we have to be honest. The players have to come and be honest with me, say what it is, because we work day and night there, and they also have one of the want. So again, this is not a guy that surrender. This is a guy that wants answers. So honesty for me is the most important thing. Just tell it as it is. Come together. Want it. I want it. But if I do something wrong, then it has to be told. If we are doing something wrong, and apparently we are a better team at home in a way. So okay, how are we going to change this? How are we going to improve? Who will want to invest in that? That is the big question, and there's a lot of frustration, and we can kind of come out with 4-0 today. It's impossible to see when you see that first half. I can't understand it, and if they were unbelievable good, I would be like, okay, but that was not the case.
Ronny Deila, head coach, and like I said, I thought it was important to play a lot of that. That was more than your standard 2 minutes. I did that on purpose. Ronny says he's a fighter. Are we believing? He's not worried about at home. He's not worried about what goes on at home. He's worried about what goes on the road. Are we believing in ourselves? He says that they're dying the longer the game goes along, and he ultimately says he's the one who's responsible for it. He's not a guy who surrenders. He wants it. We want to find out who wants it, who else wants it. How do we change it, and who's invested in it? Couple of things. You also had Will Riley, who was the player who came out to deliver the sound from the player perspective from the match. You also, and this is an absolute indictment on Yankee Stadium. The setup, and I don't know if you caught it, but I did, and it took me the second time to listen to it to catch it. I thought I heard it the first time. The second time I did. This is an absolute indictment on Yankee Stadium, and I think it took a while for Ronny to get to the position that was there. Legitimately, I thought I heard a flushing toilet. I will swear up and down that I thought I heard a flushing toilet late in that soundbite. It took me the second time to listen through it. Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. A flushing toilet. Flushing traditionally is in Queens, and that's where they're building Dillon Butler Estates. This was in the Bronx, and it seems like it's a universal insert your New York joke there. But that should be an absolute indictment on Yankee Stadium. It's allegedly 106/68. Allegedly. Peter Vermes measured it once at 106/68. Sure, fine. They're building Dillon Butler Estates out by Citi Field. Congratulations. But I swear to God, the fact that I heard a toilet flush should tell you enough about the venue and how it's been part of Major League Soccer for entirely too long. But in that sound from Ronny Deila, you heard that he's a fighter. He wants to know who's believing. And right now, like I said, Neil Siku called the match on Apple TV+. He'll join us at 10 o'clock. We'll kind of break through this with Neil, too. And I know that you guys have a lot of comments, and I will get to them throughout the show because I know that you have a lot to say. And frankly, on mornings like this, I want you to get it off your chest. I don't want you to hang on to it, in this case, through the weekend. Absolutely, absolutely going for it. Literally, you hear a toilet flush in the Bronx. You literally hear a toilet flush in the Bronx. But right now, with Atlanta United being where it is in the standings, here to begin the second half of the season, right now you are 8 points out of a playoff spot, and that's the wild card. 13th out of 15, 4-9-5. You've scored 21 goals in 18 matches. 4 of them coming last time you played NYC in your building. 4-3-3 at home. You're 500 at home. You're 0-6-2. You were the only team in the Eastern Conference not to have won on the road this year. NYC and Red Bulls have won one time. They're north of the playoff bar. But that's because they're lights out at home. Montreal has won once on the road. They have not won at home. Irony. Toronto's only won once at home. They've won more on the road. But right now you are 8 points. You've started the second half of the season. You are 8 points out of the wild card. Right now, you got the summer window coming. And it is something that I think you've got to look at. Between then and now and then, secondary transfer window opens up July 24th. So you've got, 6 weeks? You have 6 weeks to determine what you want in a roster, who wants to be here once again. Ronny Deila, are we believing? Not worried about it at home. But he's dying, but the team is dying the longer the game goes, and ultimately he says he is responsible for this. He's not a guy who surrenders. He wants it. He wants to know who wants it. How do we change what's going on the road and who's invested in it? That's what you've got to find out. So between now and July 24th, you look at the schedule. Once again, you've got 8 points out of the wild card. So for Atlanta United between now and then, here are the matches on the board. And this is where you find out who you are and who wants to be here. You've got time off. You go to Columbus on the 25th. In theory, you play Messi and friends on the 28th, but if they get out of the group stage in the Club World Cup, that's going to be rescheduled. DC is the match is at DC on July the 5th. Then a week later, you're in Toronto on July 12th. You're back home on the 16th. You play 3 matches in a week, but this is when you get your home stretch. Atlanta hosting Chicago on July 16. Hosting Charlotte on July 19 at Mercedes-Benz. And then you have Seattle coming to Atlanta once again, provided that they're not making a deep run in Club World Cup on the 26th. So the beginning of the summer transfer window for Atlanta, 2 days before the matchup in Seattle on July 26th. So July 24th, the beginning of the window. July 24th, beginning of the window. July 26th, your matchup against Seattle, and that puts you in the window, and then you're in Leagues Cup. So that's where you are with Atlanta United. You have 2, 5, 6 matches between now and the beginning of the summer transfer window. It's a month. July 24th through August 21st. So 28 days. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. So, yeah, 28 days. Basically 4 weeks. But you have 6 matches between now and then in a perfect world. Once again, Club World Cup competitions, etc., as a part of the change. So that's where Atlanta United is. It's a lot to consume between now and then. And legitimately, you won, and this is only a question that the players can answer. The first 45 minutes, and like I said, we'll go over the numbers. First 45 versus second 45. We'll go over it with our friends courtesy of SofaScore. First 45 minutes in the matchup for Atlanta United, and then once again, we'll go over how things have switched. Once again, 3 goals in 4 minutes. So 3 goals in 4 minutes in the second half, but let's get there first. Stats, first half. 58-42 possession. Possession in that building to me is somewhat irrelevant. It's, it is what it is. It's pinball, and you hang on to it as best you can. XG 0.57 to 0.45. Big chances. Atlanta United had 2. They had 4 total shots. NYC had 5. 2 saves for Romero, 1 for Brad. 5 corners. Most of them were early for NYC compared to 2 for Atlanta United. And believe it or not, NYC only had 80 more passes total. 10 tackles, 5 each side, 9 free kicks, 5 for Atlanta United compared to 4 for NYC. Total shots, once again, 4 for Atlanta United. This is first half numbers. 5 for NYC. Shots on target, 3 for Atlanta United, 2 for NYC. 1 hit the woodwork. That was the Miranchuk chance that hit the crossbar flush. 3 blocks for NYC, 2 shots inside the 18 for Atlanta, 3 for NYC. That meant that 2 were outside and 2 were outside for each. 2 big chances missed for Atlanta, 1 through ball, 1 foul in the final third, 1 offside, 3 offside for NYC. Passing 47% on long balls. They were tied at 14 in each. 3 crosses to 1 in that building. You're not going to have a whole lot of crosses in the first 45 minutes. Final third entries, about even. 26 to 33. Accurate passes once again in that building. You look at passing numbers, I just kind of throw them out the window just because of how silly that building is. 18 duels won in the first half by Atlanta, 13 for NYC. Defending, total tackles 5 each. Atlanta had 5 picks. They had just as many recoveries. 16 clearances for Atlanta compared to 9 for NYC. In that building, honestly, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just to send it clear and catch your breath. So that was the first 45 minutes. Second 45 minutes. Possession was closer, actually, 54 to 46. XG 1.14 to 0.34. Total shots, 6 to 4 for NYC. Each team had a save. 3 corners for Atlanta, none for NYC. When you've got a lead, it doesn't necessarily matter. 10 tackles for NYC in the second half compared to 4. 5 free kicks, 3 of them to Atlanta. 2 shots off target, 1 block each. 5 shots for NYC inside the box. Obviously, 3 of them go in the back of the net. 2 for Atlanta United. 2 shots outside the box compared to 1. 1 big chance scored for NYC. 1 big chance missed. 2 through balls. 1 offside for Atlanta. Long balls 13-8 for NYC in the second half. Neither team had any crosses. NYC had 28 final third entries compared to 44 for Atlanta United. 17 throw-ins, 10 to NYC. Duels were won in the second half by NYC, 18 to 11. 2 dribbles to 1. 10 total tackles for NYC in the second half compared to 4. 7 interceptions total, 4 for Atlanta United. Recoveries 50-50. And clearances actually were 50-50, 11 each. 1 save each, 5 goal kicks compared to 1. So those are your stats on the night. Then you look at individual lineups once again for Atlanta United in this matchup. Line of 5 with Brad. Brad finished with a 6.1. Pedro, Ronald, Derek, Matt Edwards, Brooks Lennon, Mateus Click, Will Riley, and Alexei Miranchuk. And then your 2 up top, Saba and Jamal. Derek had to be swapped out. My amateur lip reading had it that he had something pop as he was talking to the physio, and that came back on the third goal. And so no word yet on Derek and how he is feeling after that night. I give this guy a lot of credit for hopping in on a Friday, especially with what happened on a Thursday. Michael Parker is joining us. Where are you, dude?
Good morning.
In some circle, yes.
Road show today.
Road show. Where's the road show?
I am at a youth baseball tournament because why wouldn't it start on a Thursday morning and continue on to a Friday morning and on to the weekend?
Okay. So then I promise not to keep you for the full 30 unless you really want to not be looking at youth baseball.
Yeah, thankfully the game doesn't start till 10. So
okay.
Okay.
So did you, sir, catch any of the match last night, or were you youth baseballing and had to kind of pay attention through social media?
No, I watched it.
Okay, comma. What did you think? Question mark.
Yeah, man, it's tough going right now. It's tough to watch, honestly. Yeah, by a bad, obviously 8 minutes. I mean, the first half, it's very difficult to play at New York City. Atlanta United, we have never played well at New York City, it seems. We got a draw there on our run to the cup that we needed. But other than that, honestly, have we ever won at New York City, John?
Not in the regular season. You had the postseason win where playoff hero Eric Remedi scored on an impossible angle at the near post.
Oh, that's right. I thought that was a draw, but yeah, you're right. You won. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to play there. So honestly, I wasn't expecting anything great, but man, that's bad. You can't have an 8-minute period, 6-minute period, whatever it was like that. That's tough. And I don't know. It seemed like close every now and then, right? Derek Williams seems like maybe he's got a goal. It's a little unlucky. I don't know. Maybe it was going in. Maybe it wasn't. It's tough. Tiara just wants to make sure it's going in. So who knows? So the first half, honestly, it wasn't terrible. We're never going to create a ton up there, especially without our 2 best attacking players on the field. So, yeah, but the defending just not great. Not great at all. And for me, if you're going to be in a back 5, the wing backs need to provide stuff going forward. Otherwise, you just play 5 center backs. And Brooks always does 90% of the time. And he did last night. Pedro, I don't remember doing one thing offensively. And then Brooks, obviously, on the defensive side was not good. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to watch.
You mentioned how difficult it is in that building. And you've got to be on the entire time. I mean, literally, because it is like playing inside a pinball machine. You've got to be on that much more. You've got to be ready for the conditions that are there. How atypical is that place compared to everything else and having to be on? Because I know for 90 minutes you've got to be on. It seems like in that 90 minutes you've got to be on, if you know what I mean. How different is it? Ask the conductor on the train.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look at the third goal, right? It's a ball in from center back into midfielder, tries to turn, and he's 10 yards past the center circle, maybe?
Sure he is. Yeah, why not?
Roughly.
10.
And then it's a turnover, 1 pass, breakaway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good demonstration of everything happens so fast. And I think that gets in the heads of opponents. Right? New York City obviously plays there more often. because it seems as an opponent when you go there, there's no space, there's no time to play. Like, how do you even get width? How do you combine? And then New York City does it. They are connecting passes. Somehow you can't get close to the ball. They're ticky-talking all over the field. And it's like, how are they able to do it, but the opponent isn't? So it is a mind game a little bit going to that small field. And just the field's always on a little bit of an angle. So it's just weird. It messes with the offside line a little bit. Just I don't know how to explain it other than it just feels like it's tilted a little bit.
So then when you are in a funk like Atlanta United is in right now, and I'll use that word, funk, on the road. I mean, you're at 500 at home. You're a little over 500 at home, but you can't get anything going on the road. We all know how difficult it is on the road in Major League Soccer, but how do you dip out of a funk? Is it dialing everything back to zero? How do you dial out of a funk to turn things around, I think is the larger question.
Yeah, I wish there was an easy answer for that, John. And I bet everybody at Atlanta United wishes there was too. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, we're going through a funk with Rhode Island FC as well. It's not going well for us right now. So how do you get out of it? And we're trying to figure it out as well. And so yeah, for Atlanta, it's the same thing. And the question becomes, do you do what you have to do and whatever you need to do in order to try and get a win? Or do you stay committed to your style of play and how you've been training and what you've preached probably for 6 months until this point, and stay true to that, hoping that will turn around and get you a win? What I mean by that is, like, do you go to New York City and just pack it in? Literally stay on your half of the field. There's not a ton of space anyways. So do you just sit there, defend, try, and we did that a little bit for the first half, right? It was kind of just long ball to Tiara, see if you can get him behind.
Yeah, and get out of trouble and bomb it long to give yourself a chance to breathe.
Yep. And so maybe that was the plan. I don't know. But that's easier to do on the road, especially against New York City. But when you have a home game and the expectation is you dominate the ball and you get after teams, then that becomes a lot tougher, because if you just sit back in your own field, your own half of the field, what does the crowd think, and how do the players feel, and all that type of stuff? It becomes very, very, very difficult.
Ronny talked about belief. He says he's not worried about things at home because of the fans and the environment and everything. He's not worried about home. But he's concerned about belief and believing in themselves on the road. And he also mentioned that they're dying the longer that the game goes along. And at the end of the day, he's the one who feels ultimately responsible. He wants to find out who wants it. He's not a guy who surrenders. He wants it. He wants to find out who wants it as they're going forward, who's invested, those kinds of things. When you have your conversations with your mentees about belief, what are those conversations like with them when it comes to self-doubt, self-confidence, those kinds of things? When you have conversations with mentees about belief, what are those conversations traditionally like?
I say having belief doesn't guarantee success. Not having belief guarantees that you won't have as much success as possible.
Right.
Right. It's not a end all be all that, hey, as long as I believe, everything's going to be great. But if I don't have belief, then I'm not going to get the outcomes more often than not that I want. And, that's how we base the conversation off, and getting them to believe that believing is important. Because a lot of kids think, oh, why do I, even my own son, he's got a broken finger right now. And I'm like, hey, dude, have confidence that it's going to heal faster. And it will. And he's like, oh, does confidence help that? How does belief help that? I'm like, so sometimes they don't believe that belief is important. And, it's the same thing at the professional level, right? Your belief starts to wane when things aren't going well, right? Belief in the team, belief in the coach, belief in your ability within the current environment. And when that's the case, that's difficult. Unless there's a bond between the team that says we just don't believe in the coach, and they can kind of rally together in spite of the coach. And I feel like that's a little bit like 2019 was.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case right now with Atlanta. But by the way, Jen, to your first point, what's Atlanta United's record at home this year?
Atlanta United's record at home, efforting, sir. I know that they're like 500. So
yeah, because I was just gonna say, Ronny says I'm not worried about it. I'd be worried about it at home. I would, because if you win all your games at home, or you win at least 90% of them, your road form matters less.
4-3-3.
4-3-3. That's just average. I would say that's probably average to below average in MLS as far as home records.
Okay, so let's look at it. Let's look at home records. Philadelphia 5-1-3, Cincinnati 5-1-2, Messi and Friends 5-2-2, Nashville's 1-6, New York City's 1-7-10, Columbus 4-1-4, the New York Red Bulls have won 7-9, Orlando's won 5-9, Charlotte's won 6-8, Fire are 1-1-4 at home, New England 2-2-1. DC is 2-4-4. Atlanta has the best home record. They have the most home wins of anybody below the playoff bar, currently 4-3-3. Toronto's 1-7-2 at home, and Montreal's 0-4-3 at home.
Yeah, so about average-ish. You say probably about 7th or 8th best.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. That's not good. So, I get that our road form is bad. Mm-hmm. It's not even average, but typically in MLS, it's never going to be very good unless you're a top team. And right now, we're not a top team. So, yeah, it's tough. I don't envy the position at all. It's so challenging as anyone part of the team to get out of a rut like this. And that's why it's so important to not get in the rut. And obviously that's easier said than done, but that's why it's so important to bounce back from losses, right? And not have it string 2 in a row, 3 in a row, because as the thing starts to crumble, that snowball gets bigger and bigger, and it's more challenging to get out of it.
Yeah, it turns into a labor of Sisyphus. That's everybody's Google search today. So I'll say, let's see, TLDR. Sisyphus was the dude in mythology that was sentenced to a life in a holler, basically, as they say here in the South. He's in a valley, and he could leave the valley if he pushed the rock that he had with him up and over the top of the hillside to where the rock ends up going and rolling down another hillside. But it would always get to the top of the hill, and something would happen. Sisyphus would get tired or whatever, and he couldn't push the rock over that last little bit. The rock rolls back into the valley, and he has to start all over again. So it seems like it has turned into a labor of Sisyphus almost with Atlanta United, pushing that rock, and you're almost getting it to the top of the hillside where it rolls over, and then something happens and it rolls back down.
Yeah, agreed.
You mentioned belief. So then, okay, when you have a son with a broken finger, when you have a mentee that seems to be up against it, how difficult is it to turn negativity into belief from your mentoring perspective? Is it easier with the younger generations and those that are learning the game? I mean, when it comes to adults, is it easier from your personal experience as a professional athlete? When it comes to flipping that idea and flipping that script, is there one age group that's easier than another?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know, honestly. I feel like a little bit older people kind of grasp it a little bit. For the first time, a player that's going through something, it's difficult for them to understand how just being positive and trying to have a positive mindset about things is going to help. So in that regard, I think it's a little bit easier to be with someone who's gone through it, because sometimes they just need reminders. They need a little kick in the butt, a pat on the back to help them believe, and to reframe some of the things that they're thinking about, and just reminders about things versus the younger people that need to learn it and understand how this can be beneficial and how the negative thoughts are impacting them because they don't know that yet or understand it. So I try and start there, like, hey, here's why it's normal. Here's why we all go through it. But here's how it's impacting you. And so if we want to get our best, we need to try and change some of these things.
When you're looking at film, is it easy for you? A dip in the shoulders, a dip in the head. Is it easy for you to pick that up, or do you end up picking that up more in your one-on-one conversations first, and then you see the tape and go, oh, okay, now I see what's going on? Do you go tape first and then conversation to see it, or is it conversation and then tape?
Either one. Doesn't matter. You can see it either way. And honestly, John, when you say that, I noticed it last night. And I was thinking about it, but then it changed at the very end of the game. Yeah. And what I'm talking about is substitutions. And what I noticed was guys coming off the field, guys coming onto the field. There was like no, what's the word I'm looking for? Just recognition of each other.
Yeah.
Right. Like going over and like, you know, giving them a high five or, you know, a pat on the back or whatever. And then the very last substitution, the new player that came on at the very end,
Nick Sessick.
Whoever went off, they had a proper exchange. I think it was Pedro, maybe. But the rest, I did not notice like anything. And it's a small little thing that you're like, right? But for me, it was like when times are like this and you see that, I don't know. It just was telling to me as far as like body language and support for each other and little things like that. So yeah, with being positive and seeing film versus conversations, it can go either way.
Does that drive you crazy when you see stuff like that? Well, it happened late last night.
Yeah, it does. It does. Because yeah, it just drives me crazy because it's just so easy. It's just so easy. It's never, you can be pissed off coming off the field, no problem, right? Or if you're the guy coming onto the field, I don't know why you wouldn't initiate the, hey, good job, right?
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't take much. It's a small little thing, and you know, usually it's just so common. But if you go back and watch it, I can't remember if it was every time, but I noticed it at least 2 times. And that's just strange.
When stuff like that goes down, obviously I know that there's a level of frustration that's attached. I know there's context attached, but I know at the same time you want to be a good teammate. And I know that's what you're looking at. You're looking at being a good teammate. You're looking at being encouraging in a difficult situation. How difficult is it to be a good teammate in a difficult situation?
It's obviously more challenging. Shoot, when everything's going great and guys are winning and everything and scoring goals, like, yeah, of course it's easy to be a good teammate. But this is when actual personalities shine through, and really tests of character are when things aren't going well, right? Then the true character comes out more often than not. And going on the field because you're upset that you didn't start, or coming off the field upset because you didn't get to continue to play, it's not the other player's fault.
Yeah.
Right. You can be mad at the coach, but it's not the other player's fault. So there's just no need for something like that. And I don't want to make a big deal out of it. It's just something I noticed.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, it is more challenging. And that's part of the reason why when you get in a funk like this, things tend to go downhill, because the locker room starts to fray a little bit. Hey, it's not my fault. Hey, it's your fault. Hey, this guy needs to be better. This guy's not doing everything. And the little things become more noticeable, like what I'm talking about right now, or little things at training. Somebody showing up 2 minutes late, you know, somebody goofing off in a passing drill or whatever. That if you're winning games, it doesn't matter. But if you're not winning games, all of a sudden it matters, and guys need to be aware of that.
how would you take the tape of last night's match and use it as a lesson plan for your mentees?
Yeah, how I would use it is,
and like I said, it can be anything from strategy to behavior to being in an unfamiliar environment, being in a strange place, any of those topics. How would you take what you saw last night and use it as a part of your lesson plan?
well, I would for sure talk about being a good teammate, and the responsibility coming on or off the field. I would talk about that. But then as far as play on the field, we talk about letting go of mistakes, overcoming things. A lot of what we talk about is emotions and the need to regulate yourself. And why that's so evident is because it's known that the first 5 minutes after scoring a goal or giving up a goal, you are very susceptible to give up another one, or to give up one after you've scored. Why is that? Because our emotions are out of whack, and our focus goes down. And so I would show that. I think it's 6 minutes, right? Is it 6 minutes? We give up 3 goals. 7 minutes.
4, I think.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think it was 4. It was in the 55th with Bakrar and the 57th with Wolf, where Derek went way out to try to make a play, and Lennon had to dial it back and come back quickly to be the right back in a back line of 4, and then Wolf scored in the 59th when Derek went down in retreat, and Korea got it through Riley. So 3 and 4.
3 goals in 4 minutes. Yeah, that's a prime example of, hey, mistakes cannot compound, right? 2-0, the game's not over. 3-0, the game's over. 4-0, you're getting embarrassed. So things can go very quickly down the tube. And so when we concede, right, we have to be focused, and we have to be sharp and aware, and get everything tidied up, and mentally, if not anything else, mentally staying sharp and understanding the moment and the situation and what could happen here.
Yep. One more thing, and then I'll let you go, because I know that you want to be there on time for youth baseball. Do referees? How do you keep referees from driving you crazy? Because I have yet to play the early VAR call that didn't happen, that was called, and then I don't know what they were looking at, but I'd love to hear the audio conversation. How do you keep, when you're in a funk, how difficult is it to take an early moment against you and keep it from turning into that black cloud, which Atlanta United did for most of the first half? How difficult is it when you're in a funk to get that black cloud away from you when something goes against you like it did early for Atlanta United?
Yeah, the expectation is that you're not going to get any help. When you're in a funk like this, you're not going to get the bounce. Okay? It's going to hit the post and go out. It's going to hit the crossbar instead of go under the crossbar. The penalty kick that's close is not going to go your way on either side of the field. It's the way it goes. We've had 2 penalties for Rhode Island in the last 2 games that have not been called. There's no VAR. So it just is what it is, right? And you have to understand, when things are not going this well, you are not going to get the calls. And you need to know that going into the game. And so you don't expect it. You don't expect to get a call. And so you just need to deal with it and figure it out and keep going, because the help is not going to be there until you help each other get out of it. And that is always, always, always the way it's been, and will continue to be for some reason. Can't explain it, but that's always how it is.
So how long are you at youth baseball today?
Just 1 game today. So.
Oh, okay.
Yep, 2 yesterday, 1 today, and then the weekend is always up in the air.
So what does Rhode Island have this weekend?
We have a home game against North Carolina on Saturday nights. It's an important one. We lost to Louisville midweek. Yeah, speaking of home performances, we've not won yet at our brand new facility. That needs to change this weekend. We're sitting right at the playoff line in 8th place, and so we need to get going. Big one on Saturday.
And the jersey proves it because he's busting out the jersey this morning to
Yeah,
show
this isn't Rhode Island FC, but this is a amateur club in
Ooh.
Rhode Island that makes just cool jerseys. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
they hooked me up, and they're
Yes.
good people.
As they should. And man needs to get hooked up, and he needs to wear them as much as humanly possible. Thank you for your candor this morning. I tried to apply as much of it to mentoring as possible when it came to topics and difficulties and dealing with things that you have to deal with mentees. And rough night, but I wanted to kind of make as many crossovers as I could. Enjoy your youth baseball. Wear plenty of sunscreen. I see you're wearing a hat, which is always good. And be safe, my friend. We'll catch up with you next time. Thanks again, and don't get hit by the truck that's passing by.
Yeah, too many trucks. Have a great weekend.
All right, be good. All right. Michael Parkhurst, who gets massive points for dropping by this morning. We tried to get him out of there before he goes to youth baseball. So Parky gets massive points for dropping by. That's the Freddie Free Kick brought to us by our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at beyondgoalsmentoring.com, at BG Mentoring, and all the things. So hopefully that was some good insight from Parky about dealing with adversity, dealing with stuff on the road, being in a funk, and some little things about being a teammate. So very, very cool stuff there from Parky, traditionally, as always. I know that you guys are going and having a lot of conversation in the Twitch pitch. And so in about 20 minutes, we will start that conversation. We'll go through the juice boxes in Major League Soccer and let you know what else is going to be going on there. Neil Sika set to join us coming up in just a little bit. Yes, we're going to talk about the early call. Yes, we're going to talk about what his view was of it, then of the second goal that got called away and what the explanation was that he got. And then we'll talk about the second 45, the 3 goals in 4 minutes. And we'll discuss what Neil's thoughts are on Atlanta United, the Eastern Conference, the playoffs, and getting ready for the second half of the season. And we will see if the crime-fighting duo of Sika and Sam get a matchup this weekend, or if Neil gets to head back to Columbus and gets to go watch those kinds of things. So once again, later today, you will have episode 120. So what is that? CXX for the Soccer for US POD. On Monday, Bart will join us and discuss what happened on Thursday with the 2 calls. I want him to walk through offside and touches and things like that, especially for goal number 2. I'm going to go back this weekend on my list and look at the time frame that it took for VAR, and I want to walk through this with Neil to start things off. But I want to walk through the timing because I'm to the point, and I know that this is nothing new, but I am to the point where it should be, where instead of 75 minutes added because you're trying to find something and you may not have remember that it is always clear and obvious. Clear and obvious. I cannot wait for Inside the VAR Studio. It probably will not be this week because it was a Thursday night game and they'll have to turn it around. But I cannot wait for the explanation. Or is it just an oh, by the way? Or is it an oopsie? I cannot wait. Like I said, I don't anticipate during the news dump later today that you will end up with something that will give you an answer as to what happened in the early moment. And I know that if we are all sitting in a room and we've been going through this this is our 8th season of the show, that we talk about game state, we talk about things, and we talk about how game state can change and how it can change on a moment. And I know we got to talk about the call, the play, capital T, capital C, capital T, capital P, however you wish to phrase it. And since it is 10 o'clock, we are starting hour number 2 here on the morning show. And we get to welcome in somebody new, and traditionally I would do like song or something or have background music, but I don't have a singing voice, and Neil Sika really doesn't want me to sing. Trust me, he doesn't want that. So hour number 2, we bring in half of the crime-fighting duo of Sika and Sam. Neil, welcome, my friend.
John, I'm hoping you did sing.
No, you don't want that, brother. You do not want that. You do not want that at all, sir. You don't want that. First off, welcome to the morning show. did 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 Kirk tell you what you were getting into when you signed up for this assignment, sir?
A little bit of a briefing, but ultimately I felt I was going to be able to handle whatever you put on my plate. So it's great to be with you.
Well, no, I figure that we talk about what happened last night. And so we'll start there, considering that you were there for Apple TV. We have yet to play the audio. We've kind of walked through a disenchanted first hour of the show with folks in the Twitch pitch. We did have Michael Parkhurst batting second on the show, and he batted before you here on the morning. He was getting ready for youth baseball. So
is he back in Atlanta, or is he living in Columbus these days?
He's in Columbus. He's
up.
That's
right. Yeah, it's funny because I really haven't seen him. I'm living in Florida now, but all the time we spent in Columbus, I rarely have crossed paths with him since his playing career has been over. But great guy, Parky.
Yep, and so Parky and Greg Garza come on and discuss their mentoring and beyond goals when they're not traveling the world and trying to conquer it. So it was a pretty down and dirty half hour with Parky that just wrapped up before you came on. But I wanted to get your initial thoughts of the match on the whole involving Atlanta United and NYC. And I do want to ask what it's like to call a match where you're seeing something at the 106/68 or the U12 futsal pitch that is Yankee Stadium. But your initial thoughts now that the match is over and you've had a chance to breathe.
Yeah, boy, that escalated quickly. The second half, and just everything was so pedestrian to start that second half, and then Bakar had that chance, and Gazan makes the save, and then the next thing you know, they turn off, and there's 3 goals in 4 minutes. But it had one of those vibes to it in the first half, John, where things didn't go in Atlanta United's favor. The offside call, the non-penalty call after going to a long review, and then what's been the crutch of this team the whole season, making a mistake in a critical moment in the back right before halftime. But even then, you're only down a goal. So for that thing to get to 2-3-4, well, I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things where they haven't won in the regular season in New York. I know they've got a playoff victory there, but the demons, I guess, continued to haunt. And it just goes from, man, we started to look at this thing with 2 wins at home, however they may have come. And now we're almost kind of right back to where we were feeling in the 8-game unbeaten run. Or at least that's how I would feel if I was an Atlanta United fan.
Yeah, it is right now you're 8 points out of the wild card play-in round. And you're we were going through the math this morning. You've got a handful of matches. You got half a dozen matches before the secondary transfer window opens. And this is going to be the opportunity for Ronny Deila between now and then to sit there and say, okay, who wants to be a part of this? Who's in, who's with me, who's against me, who's in, and you got 6 matches to look at it. And you're going to have to start with a couple of them on the road at your old haunt in Columbus and possibly at the Erector set taking on Messi and friends unless they get out of the group stage in the Club World Cup. So, I mean, it doesn't get any easier out of the blocks later on in the month.
Yeah, and you're hoping maybe you galvanize a little bit playing all these games on the road. But then again, when the pressure is on and you haven't won a road game like they have in 8 games, I don't know. Everything from challenging the guys' toughness going into the Cincinnati game to changing up the formation and putting players according to where they like to play. But I just the identity of the team, again, with all that was expected of this group, can you really say you know what it is at this point, 18 games into the season?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not – these are the conversations I think Atlanta United fans, 1, thought they were going to be having, and 2, with the roster composition that was already set up to think, are we going to even challenge for a wild card spot at this point? Because it should have been top 4 the way the line of thinking goes going into the season. But you can do that ad hoc and the reality is they are where they are for a reason. And it's on Ronny Deila to figure it out. There's plenty of personnel there. I think Moranchuk is looking a lot more comfortable, but how do you play him and Moreno together with a guy that likes to come inside and run in the middle? There are all these quandaries, right? They're still heavily relying on crosses with Brooks Lennon, but like I thought last night when they went direct and they were going at Saba and then they had Chiare and some speed and running in behind, I thought that was pretty effective. I think that they can be effective that way and running downhill.
Yeah.
That's the team that I think everyone expected them to be. So, but it's not enough in the critical moments of games right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit there and hopefully run 32 wham and sit there and go between the tackles and and crush it and run downhill. You get to the second level and then you're tiring you're tiring those linebackers and those safeties by the time you get into the third quarter if you just keep running 32 and 34 wham at them the whole time,
For sure, and that was the game last night. That was a very attack-minded lineup to start for New York City, and I think they were vulnerable at times. Now, we debated this on the broadcast. Like Romero was a little late. I'm surprised if JC Rivero, the VAR, is calling for that to go to review.
Yeah,
more often than not, he thinks it's a mistake. But Sergei Boyko,
yeah.
By golly, he's damn defiant if he isn't anything else with all the yellow cards you see in games that he refs, and stood by his conviction that it wasn't a penalty. But that was a huge moment in swing, and all of a sudden, if that's a penalty and Atlanta United scores, Romero's starting his first game for NYC. So I've seen plenty of goalkeepers this year who are right in the bright lights, and they make a mistake, and that kind of changes the complexion of the game. So.
All right.
It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback now and say that, but
yeah, Friday morning quarterback is what we're here
Friday
for.
morning quarterback, yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the 14th minute, and I want to get your perspective on what went down. And I know that, on Mondays we have one of our refs come in and we do a reffing down here kind of a thing. But I want to do reffing down here with you. 14th minute, and it looks like Tomas Romero makes contact with Jamal on the left leg up high, gets to the leg first. He actually makes contact with Jamal's, I think, left foot first. Then he makes contact with Jamal's leg. Then he makes contact with the ball. At least that's what I'm looking at through my Zapruder lens. Then it goes to it. You're waiting, and then it goes to VAR, and then you get to you and Lloyd get to have a sandwich and maybe a cafe cubano by the time the decision comes up. I mean, what is it like for the two of you trying to sit there and sort through all of the noise and the call as it happened with the two of you on Apple TV?
Yeah, in those situations, as an announcer, I think the letter of the law. You've gone through the rehearsal and the routine of clear and obvious. I think fans know that by now, but ultimately, and this goes across all sports, if you're searching for something and there's not that conviction, I think the tough part in that angle that we had, a lot of it is Chiare's back. So what really comes? You're piecing it together. Did he make contact with the thigh first or the ball? But then the legs get him, and I thought there was ultimately enough contact. Long ago, you learn even though someone gets to the ball, it doesn't mean that they don't commit a foul in the process of making contact, right?
Yeah.
So there's some pretty glaring pieces of evidence there that make a strong case for a penalty in that situation. The thing that annoys me is if we know that and we're at the vestibule of what we have in our replay, why is it taking almost 2.5 minutes to make that call? MLS is usually pretty good in terms of how quickly the conviction is. I do a lot of hockey, so there's all these reviews you go into, and I'm for you get 60 to 90 seconds tops, and if it's there, I mean we want to get on with our lives here. So one way or the other, it is or it isn't. Make the call and let's move on from the game. Let's move on with it. But the longer it went, gave you the inclination that maybe that it was going to be changed around, thinking that they're searching for granules and maybe they're coming up with something here that would have turned it over. So
and that's the thing for me. It's like you mentioned the shot clock, and I'd love to have a VAR clock. I really would. It's like if you get past 90 seconds to 2 minutes, I think you're looking for something, and not in the clear and obvious category. I think you actually are looking for a reason not to call something that would be clear and obvious one way or the other. And that, I think, bugs fans and announcers more than anything. It's like, look, if it ain't clear and obvious, that, then leave it as it was, leave it as the call or whatever, and then let's get on with our lives, And I think that bugs a lot of folks when it comes to Major League Soccer these days.
Yeah, and the other argument there is if he calls a penalty on the field in real time, I don't think that's getting overturned, but maybe Sergei Boyko didn't necessarily agree with JC Rivero that angle was conclusive enough. At least that's what you can take now from deductive reasoning. But it's a huge moment early on in that game, and for Atlanta, for Atlanta United, who's looking for any sort of positive when playing away, I mean, the start was right there for them to have. Should that call have gone in their favor?
Yeah, and then what was the news that you got on the second goal that didn't happen off of? Did Jamal touch it? Was that what the interpretation was?
Yeah. If it was a slight flick or graze, maybe he's leaning a little bit to be in that offside position. Again, that Yankee Stadium camera angle, it's not completely in line, right? You're watching it. You're on an angle. It's almost like you're behind first base, elevated at Yankee Stadium. So,
yes, left their cameras. It's a lot
of the 18 cams leave some things to be desired sometimes, but that's okay. You just kind of go with what you feel and what you say. I think he was leaning just a bit, but again, there was the irony of it all. Atlanta United has been so poor on set pieces and conceding goals, and yet that was their avenue to, again, looks like they take the lead and all for naught. Poor Derek Williams, because he makes a good play and then he gets hurt later in the game, and he's kind of been the center of attention on a lot of those set pieces recently, where he's gotten himself into some good scoring chances. But
yes, Neil Sika dropping by for Friday morning quarterback after calling the match last night. Your PI duo of Sika and Sam in the 1978 Ford Torino with the double siren on top on Apple TV.
Well, we may be going back in time a little bit. I don't know if people caught it when Lloyd was revealing that he tended to like a slice of apple pie and maybe a glass of wine before games. Back in the 70s, where you could get away with that.
I mean, as long
in those moments when the game gets away, you got to turn into some entertainment, I guess, if even if it's at the bequest of the opposition losing.
If the game turns into a kickabout, you got to talk about some other things. Question from the floor from one of our A-listers, Abby. She goes, how do you feel about the lack of speed of calls by Sergei Boyko, where there were times where either Sergei was in a dilly-dally zone or his whistle was not all that authoritative? It seemed like it would more like a as opposed to when it came to the lack of speed, it almost seemed like Sergei Boyko might have been at 18 RPM instead of 45 or 78. Yeah.
He let him play at times last night, that's for sure. But I think he's one of the more disciplinary refs that we have right now in the league. So whether one game to the next, he's lacking maybe conviction in the whistle. It's like an umpire each and every game that has a different strike zone call, right? Where is that a strike or is it something that looks authoritatively? The pump. So.
Are you Eric Gregg or are you Country Joe West? Is basically what you're
Country Joe, exactly. That's a great reference. But ultimately, all players want is things to be consistent. But from the lack of like a mellow whistle, I guess that stuff I don't always notice on first take. But it's a good catch by Abby to bring it up. I'd more so bring it back to when the moment is on the referee in a situation like the VAR, are you sticking with your convictions and are you doing it in a succinct manner? And we're all about the quickness of that decision where it should be 60 to 90 seconds. I'm for like voting that in across all sports with video review.
Absolutely. We need time limits on VAR.
Yeah.
Neil Sika dropping by with us here, making his debut on Friday Morning Quarterback here on the morning show on SDH AM. When it comes to storylines heading into the second half of the season, what sticks in your mind? What are you looking forward to the most here in the second half of the season when it comes to Major League Soccer? What's on your whiteboard of things that you're looking forward to off camera there?
Well, outside of this colossal June of all the other competitions and everyone's legs staying in place for the stretch run,
Yeah.
with all these games, I just find it fascinating. Even the top tier teams in the East have leaked a little bit of oil here coming to the midpoint. You've seen Miami or Cincinnati or Columbus, and they've kind of had this pedestrian play. And then in the West, everything outside of what Vancouver's done in the league kind of literally blows up, no pun intended, with the Champions Cup final. But I just think that it's still all the play for so many teams. I think that's why you'd be frustrated if you're Atlanta United or anyone in the bottom tier of the East or the West right now. All it takes is 3 or 4 wins in a row where you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And you know this league. Everyone who's followed along has watched this. Then you put yourself into a position, we can make the playoffs. I did a radio show in St. Louis. St. Louis makes the coaching change. They feel a little bit better, right, about how they played the last couple of games, just to give you an example. And yet, here's the LA Galaxy. No one's thinking it'd be preposterous to think that they could go back and make the playoffs, right? I mean, it's too far gone. You think that.
Yeah.
But if I'm Greg Vanny and I'm also looking at David Critchley and I'm saying everyone from 7 down in the West after Seattle, like I think Seattle will make the playoffs, Portland, everyone from 7 down in the West, no one is knocking my socks off to the point. Like, they all have flaws.
Yeah.
So if we get on a little bit of a heater here, there's no reason to think that we're not in the conversation after Leagues Cup. Maybe that's a little too far-fetched for LA at this point. Same thing could go in the East, and that's why you're still 8 points out. Atlanta, but you've played one more game. Chicago look the part, like they're maybe going to get it over the finish line and get back to the postseason right now.
United every week, then yeah.
Yeah, right. But Greg Berhalter's brought an identity to that group that they've been missing for probably 5-6 years, and he did it in Columbus. Whatever you want to think about with the national team results, he still had an identity with the United States, and that he done a great job building the culture. So I think, they're in a position. Charlotte's wobbly, but I still think they're a playoff team. Everyone has their flaws, and that's where Atlanta United, if they ever were to get around figuring it out. Because keep in mind, remember, you had the 9-game winless run last year before the stretch run, right? And figuring it out, and it wasn't until decision day that he got into the postseason. This is the funny thing about it. We come on all these shows. We do it from week 1 to week 34, and it usually comes down to weeks 32, 33, 34 in the end, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're hanging around, you always have belief in a shot. I just don't know right now where that injection of confidence is going to come. That first, they would have started by winning a game on the road. I think that's a must now over this 6-game road trip.
No doubt, and that's that. You're looking at this kind of stuff. So let's see. So as you look at you mentioned folks not impressing you. So let's go to the 7th in the West with Austin at 23, San Jose that scores as much as they give up, which is kind of what we anticipate.
Yeah, they're entertaining as hell, but will they defend when it matters most to at least put them in a position where they can be considered a playoff team?
Yeah, and you could say that about Messi and friends, and
sure.
The one thing that keeps them from possibly winning titles is the fact that sometimes you mentioned the oil coming out from the bottom. Sometimes the hood comes up, the transmission drops, and they're off to the side, and they're hoping for a red flag. I mean, that's what you're staring at with that back line at times for Messi and friends. Colorado, you're kind of like, eh. And Zach Steffen's out for another month or another 5 weeks or so plus recovery time.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston's kind of like, eh. Dallas is eh. Kerry Z kind of got the new coach bump at Sporting, but they've kind of leveled off. RSL, they're kind of like, all caps.
RSL, I've had a lot of RSL games recently. I mean, if they sell Diego Luna, which is looking likely probably after the Gold Cup, he's their leader at 21. He's the heart and soul. And then all of a sudden you've already got way too many young guys and where to turn if they're already 5 games under the 5. I think Houston, though, is the interesting team because if they get some of their guys back healthy, which they are with Anelli, and Ben Olsen has the structure, and then you go down there and you play in the heat in the summertime, they've looked the part at times, and I think they've got enough talent and players that they could make a second half push in the West. That would be the team that I'd be looking at right now out of that group.
Okay. One random question, since you're in Florida now, and since you're in Florida now, Edmonton they had a big comeback last night to tie.
I watched the end of it after our game, yeah.
And so Stanley Cup Finals now, instead of it being 3-1 in Florida in the driver's seat, it's 2-2 heading back to Alberta, where I was stunned with what happened with the comeback last night. But that's why you've got guys like Draisaitl and McDavid and Corey Perry, who's like 72 years old, who's doing really well. You look at the Stanley Cup.
Hockey, shouldn't we be talking about the new arena, or it's on the docket?
Well, right, it got approved, and so they're looking at the gathering at South Forsyth. The way that it has always been presented is the guy wants the franchise, and then he'll build the arena. It's like, you promised me that I'll get my expansion team, and then we'll build it. And I'm like, doesn't it go the other way around? It's like you build the arena, and then you get the franchise. I'm just saying. I mean, am I?
Sure.
Am
you're walking on a thin line a little bit after the previous incarnations, and I know.
Don't encourage. Don't get started about Atlanta Spirit, man, because that's another show entirely.
No, right. And look, the spot of where this arena goes compared to like past ventures in the sport situation, and look at how hockey in the Southeast has gone. Everyone's pointed the finger at Gary Bettman, but what Florida and Tampa have done, and the Carolina Hurricanes, I mean, they're putting together winning products.
Smashville when they get all squared away too. So all right, so it's now best of 3 Stanley Cup final. What do you think is going to happen?
I think based off of how that game started and where the Oilers have been, and like they were in the first round against the Kings, down 3-0 or 2-1 in a game that they were trailing the series 2-1. I think they're going to have the return in their favor in this series. Florida had it in the crosshairs last night. I think Edmonton wins the cup, and I think they'll clinch it in Florida. I think they'll win the next 2.
Wow. Man, that's not
an incredible series.
Yeah, I've been loving it.
I mean, I'm not going to argue if it goes 7 games, but I think they'll win in Edmonton, and I think they'll find a way to do something dramatic here in Sunrise for the last game 6.
So are Sika and Sam calling something this weekend? Do you guys have something on Saturday?
Yes, we have St. Louis and LA.
Ooh.
And then Lloyd gets a little bit of a respite. I go right into some Gold Cup and just hammer away the summer soccer here in Florida. But it's been a blast, and we've had doubleheader weekends, and so it's been more robust than ever before with the schedule that I've had. But getting to see all the league and having done 30 games by now at the midpoint of the season is quite a high volume, but cranking it out.
Well, you know now that you have the garage door opener, and you know now where the key is under the mat. You know that you can come in and crash in the hour of chaos on Fridays at any time now.
For sure. So my brother lives in Atlanta, so if I'm ever in the area where it happens to be, I can just even make a live appearance. That would be
and the boss and the rowdy man will sit there and go, who's knocking on the door of the studio at like 9:10 or whatever. So no, we'll make room here in Decatur. Absolutely. So no, this is the boss was like, so what are you going to do with your man cave? And so she has reinforced the shower the shower curtains and the shower rods and all the stuff, and Yeah, so this is Office HD, and you now have the open garage door to where you can come in and raid the fridge anytime.
Well, that's spectacular. Don't judge my rental in the background. I'm on the other side of the state, live on the other side, so we're floating around and making it every week's like a mini vacation living down here. So
no, it's all good. So anytime you wish to come in on literally if you're bored, like 10:30 whatever, between 10:30 and 11 when we're talking about all the other matchups, you want to come in, you want to give a 2-minute update, or you want to hang for the half hour, it doesn't matter. That's the keys to the kingdom that you got in the email from the league. And so come back by anytime. We'll talk anything from hockey to Gold Cup to MLS, whatever's on your mind, and take the show off the rails. I know that shocked you.
That is some Southern hospitality there, John. I'm always inclined to maybe stop by for a chat. So thanks for having me on. Anytime, my friend. Just be safe, save the pipes, and we'll be watching all caps St. Louis City SC and LAG this weekend. Be safe, my friend. Thanks for dropping by, and go back and go get some lunch or something. I think I might do that. Thanks, John. All right, be good. See, now that's Neil Sika, and so Sika and Sam, it's like Starsky and Hutch for MLS for MLS on Apple TV. That's why that's where the Gran Torino reference came from. From those of you of a certain age that may not understand that, I feel like there needs to be a Nilsson annotated when it comes to the end of the show. So yes, the 1978-ish Ford Torino or whatever it was with the bubble siren. That was a Starsky and Hutch reference, kids. So look that up. So yeah, we got into it with Neil, and here is the play that drove everybody nuts, at least early on, anyway. And so here is what went down in the 14th minute. And here is Mike. Here is Mike and Jason's version, the longer version from our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Here was the play in question that started things off last night.
For the top here for TRA. Romero off his line and takes TRA down inside the 18. No penalty. It rolls into the far corner to Riza. TRA is still down.
It didn't look like Romero got the ball at all.
No, that looked like now it's in center field. That's 400 feet away from us, but it looked like a clear penalty.
The flight of the ball didn't change. I don't think Romero got a touch on the ball.
No.
And it looked like he got some at TRA. I don't know how that's not a penalty.
TRA is still down as play continues. Riza nearly gave it away to Will Riley. It rolls back to Hack behind the halfway line.
TRA's going to force the issue here and make them take a look.
Well, TRA is finally back on his feet now as New York City, to use a Johnny Most term, kind of fiddles and diddles with it, waiting for him to get back up. And now they have stopped play. They have stopped play for what?
They're probably going to take a look at this.
And they certainly did. And it did not go the way that I would probably say, how do I phrase this? 999% of the folks on the planet thought it should have gone. But once again, you go past, I don't know what was looked at. I'd love to know, like I said, I cannot wait for Inside the VAR studio on this one. And we'll find out what the word is when it comes to what they saw, what they didn't see, who overruled whom, who said, okay, I think you need to come and look at this. No, I don't want to. So that was what happened early on in the 14th minute. You had the early Saba chance in the 4th. You had the one in the 14th. And then you had the first shot for NYC was in the 22nd minute. Early and an easy grab for Brad Gazan there. Then Miranchuk off the crossbar in the 32nd. And then you end up with the goal offside 5 minutes later. And and Jarrett had Zaprudered this. And it looked like that Jamal did touch it, and that's why Derek was yelling at Jamal. But, Jamal making sure that the ball does go in. It looked like you might have gotten just a little bit of a touch. And then we talk about game state. And then you end up with a mistake by Brooks. And Ronny Deila said after the match, it's not about Brooks. It's about other things. And so it was 1-0 at the break. Miranchuk shoots at 45 plus 2, saved by Romero, and it's 1-0 at the break. And then we got into the whole discussion about whistles or very weak whistles and just not being very authoritative in an environment where I think you need to be. And I think that that's the hook in this, in addition to everything else that we talk about, is that you have to be authoritative in that situation and not just kind of like, you've got to sit there. And because of it being very amplified emotionally in a shortened space in the 106 by 68 or whatever it is, that you've got to be more authoritative. You've got to be more amplified. You have to be more confident, and you can't be late. You can't be late in these situations. You can't. You can't. And it ended up being that you were late. You're late. You were horribly late on sometimes. And I mean, like Jamal got trucked a couple times. Midanchuk got a high boot once. You didn't get a call. So you had all that stuff. All right. Now, let's go back in and let me say hi to everybody. And we will say hi and go into some of the comments from this morning. I know that you guys have been going back and forth about the coaching, the front office, the approach, last couple of years, so on and so forth. So let me say hi to everybody. Morning, Abby. Morning, Michael. Morning, Ricky. And yes, absolutely true. The FIFA system crashed when I came for credentials yesterday. What are we doing for Club World Cup? Keep your ears peeled. We are going to be doing things. And we might have some before the whistles. Just depends on what FIFA lets us do. We'll try and have some things after matches, specifically here in Atlanta after the matches. And we'll keep you posted on those. But the best thing that I can tell you is, yes, we do have plans for covering Club World Cup. What we can do and what we can't, we're still trying to gauge with FIFA. And then hopefully we can do some post-match things either on SDH or someplace. Just set your notifications with us if you haven't. And then that way, when we know, you'll know. Might be some snap judgment stuff. Hey, we're going to be doing a post-game show, so keep an ear out, especially Monday after the match at 3 o'clock. So 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere in there, 5 o'clock hour, keep an ear out for Chelsea and LAFC. I think LAFC goes to Macon today to start things off. I think Auckland City is in Chattanooga for the next week. I think they leave on the 19th. So if there is an opportunity for us to go to either Mercer or to Macon, Mercer Macon or to Chattanooga to catch up with either of those teams, we will certainly do so. But right now, Club World Cup plans, we do have them. We know what we'd like to do. We're trying to figure out if we can do it. So just set your notifications to all of SDH on social and all of us on social, at OSG Nelson, at Madison Cruz 7, at Longshoe, at SDH on all the socials, and we'll keep you posted. But we do have a plan as to what's going on. Like I said, we just have to figure out if the plan meets the specs of FIFA and doesn't get FIFA mad. All right, let's see. So Ricky's in day 2 of volunteer training. All right, so let's see. Ricky and morning Jordan. Jordan got his credential, finally got his after 2. Michael got his. He said it was seamless. And Jordan is not a fan of Sergi Boyko. Let's see. So Abby and Michael and a lot of the back and forth. I saw Emilio was in here this morning. So morning, Katie Weaver. Katie Weaver in this morning. And let's see. So Michael and Emilio and Abby and Ropes. Good morning. Let's see. So there is more among Abby and Emilio, and morning Dell. Need to ask Neil. Yeah, Dell. We need to find out what Neil follows. I think Neil's more of a hockey guy, but we'll find out. Morning Bart. 0-2, 0 goals, 8 against this week. Dislike, and that's national team and Atlanta United. So, morning Derek, and thank you. Jason Rigo, Providence City Football Club. Yes, I've seen those before, and I have not had the chance I've seen the Providence City kits before, but they can never stay in stock. They're always jumped after. Emilio, I would challenge your assessment about Derek. It was least in last night you had Derek has had a pretty solid year, and he's grown into this year. So I would disagree with your assessment most nights on what we've seen from Derek, and I'm sure that Derek would agree that his play has improved as the season has gone along. I mean, it was a bit of a shaky start, and I think that he's grown into the role that he's being asked. Let's see. So morning Wiley, morning Derek. Let's see. Yeah, Del, I need to ask Neil about the folks he supports, but I think he probably is a Blue Jackets guy first and foremost. Let's see. Yeah, and that's the thing is that for me, for Scythe, you are really hoping on season tickets within a 20-mile radius. You really are. I think you are. When it comes to the alleged possible new hockey team in the NHL at the Gathering in South Forsyth, you are hoping that you're going to get the Alpharetta mom and Alpharetta dad going north on 400, and that you're going to get folks just on the north side of or just north of the Fulton County line that don't want to pay property taxes, but they'll pay them in Forsyth County. I think that's what you're banking on, a 20-mile radius for most of your season tickets. All right, so morning 4 card, and Michael has not been a fan of the organization when it comes to the Club World Cup. But, yeah, going up to Forsyth. For those of us that are ITP, going to the Gathering, it's going to be a haul. I don't know how many hockey games I'll go see. I'll go see games at Gwinnett. I may not necessarily go and see them at the Gathering because it's just too damn far. Literally, you have to make a day of it. And it's got to be on a weekend. If there's an NHL game in the midweek at the Gathering, I don't know if I'm going. If I'm covering it, maybe. But if there's something midweek at the Gathering, I don't know if I'm going. Ever. Really, unless maybe it's a playoff series. And then maybe you're getting a hotel room or something on Windward Parkway. The Gathering. I don't know if that's happening. All right, last half hour. Let's get into your juice boxes and let you know what's going on in and around everything in Major League Soccer. We do have Friday night football, by the way, and we'll get into the lineups and who's doing what and who's going where and who's calling what and your crews and everything. We still do not have any update on Club World Cup and folks that are mad about how things are laid out currently. If you have not seen the Legos or that's fantastic. The Lego figures of Kevin, BWP, Sasha, and Kalen, those are fantastic. Fantastic. By the way, those are tremendous. All right, so if they're not there, let's go to MLS Communications and see if we have lineups. We do know that Sika and Sam are calling the LA match, the LAG and all caps match. We do know that. But what we don't know is who's calling what and doing anything else. Montse Bakrar, no, we don't know who's calling the other matches. Okay. So much for that idea of telling you who the broadcast crews are. My guess is it'll come out about 11:05. All right. Your crews, once again this weekend, MLS Next Pro, all that kind of stuff. So what we do have, let me see if we can find the crews for this weekend. No. Pro website. Do we have? All right. So we're going to the Pro website. Derek, oh, wow. So, Derek, it would be Pro's website's currently down for maintenance. Got to be kidding me with this. I don't think that that's true, but anyway. All right. So, Pro's website apparently is down for maintenance, I'm guessing. I don't know. Pro referees assignments. All right. So, MLS assignments. Yeah, Pro's website's currently down for maintenance. Fantastic. So much for telling you who is where. That's just great. Fantastic. Okay, so we've had a handful of matches. This is just fantastic. That's just amazing. So if Pro tells us who's doing what, let's go to media. Let's see if we get any help there. Okay, so we do have is this accurate or is this old? Let's see how accurate this is. Match day 19. Match day 19, Sergei Boyko, Daniel Chesky. Yeah, no, this is not updated a bit. And remember also, we do have a championship game this weekend in the USL Super League, the Battle of Florida, Tampa Bay, and Fort Lauderdale. That's going to happen this weekend too. All right, let's go to juice boxes because I can't give you announced teams because they're not posted yet. And I can't give you ref assignments because they're not posted yet. We got it like the day of when we found out Sergei Boyko was the man in the middle for Atlanta United and NYC. All right, so today, 10:30, which is a 10:40 start. Portland is a -110 hosting San Jose. That number has changed more in San Jose's favor. They are now a +252. Draws a +294. Those numbers were in the +260s and 270s. It has closed the gap a little bit for San Jose. Tomorrow at 4:30, all caps and LAG. So Sika and Sam are batting leadoff tomorrow. And that one is going to be all caps at a -101. Draws a +265. And the LAG are a +249. That one is on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass, Fox, and Fox Deportes. So that is the big matchup on Big FOX at 4:40. 7:40 starts. There are three of them, all three on Season Pass. Columbus, Vancouver, and Revs and FC Cincinnati are on Apple TV Plus in addition. Crew, -122, hosting the Whitecaps at a +289, draws a +290. I'm thinking Crew in this one just because of all the absences that Vancouver has for international duty. Then the Revs and FC Cincinnati. Revs are a +152, draws a +244. FC Cincinnati is a +165. Philadelphia and Charlotte. This one is just on MLS Season Pass and Apple TV. It is Philadelphia a -125. Charlotte's a +298. And your draw is a +286. Al-Akhli and Messi and Friends are at 8 o'clock on DAZN. That's supposed to be for free. We'll find out. And there are other ways to watch. We'll see if there are the other ways to watch on DAZN will be found out, or if we're just kind of going to be flailing trying to find out where these matchups are. So Austin and Red Bulls are at 840, part of the 840 brigade. Austin's a +112, draws a +224. Red Bulls are a +248 with all the absences and the travel. Fire are a +146 hosting Nashville. Nashville's a +254, and Nashville's to win is a +165, draws a +254. 840 Houston and CF Montreal. Dynamo are a -143. CF Montreal are a +366. Draw is a +282. Loons in San Diego. Loons with their absences, including Dane St. Clair. I will be intrigued to find out what's going on in net unless St. Clair ducked out and he's ducking back into international duty. Minnesota United a -101, draws a +259. San Diego FC on the road is a +250. Sporting Kansas City a -102, hosting FC Dallas, who is a +258. Draw is a +254. Colorado is a +196, hosting the Purple Team. That one is on MLS Season Pass and Apple TV Plus. Colorado is a dog at home. Orlando's a +123. Draws a +259. 9:30 Salt Lake and DC United is on Apple TV Plus, Apple TV, and MLS Season Pass at America First. RSL is a -132. Draws a +280. DC United is a +325. And then you also have CONCACAF Gold Cup Group A at SoFi. 10:15, Fubo, FS1, TUDN and Univision, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic. We'll get into FIFA Club World Cup juice boxes here. On Sunday, Bayern Munich and Auckland City, they're at TQL. That one is at noon. PSG and Atletico Madrid at the Rose Bowl is at 3. Palmeiras and Porto is at the Meadowlands at 6. U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago start Gold Cup Group D at PayPal Park. Fubo, Fox, TUDN, Univision, 6 o'clock Eastern. Haiti and Saudi Arabia are in the Gold Cup Group D at Snapdragon at 8:15. Fubo, FS1, TUDN, and Univision. Botafogo and Seattle are on DAZN at Lumen Field, Group B, match week 1. And then Costa Rica and Suriname, Gold Cup from Snapdragon back into the doubleheader at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Costa Rica and Suriname, once again, are listed there. So you have Gold Cup juice boxes just so we can have them. And like I said, we'll have Bart come on Monday. Mexico, Dominican Republic. Mexico, a big favorite. No real surprise at a minus 833. Draws a plus 676. Dominican Republic is a plus 1723. The number is basically the same for the U.S. Minus 833 in the composite against Trinidad and Tobago and J Fortune. Plus 1541 for Trinidad and Tobago. Draws a plus 703. Haiti is an underdog to Saudi Arabia at a plus 244. Saudi Arabia is a plus 104. Draws a plus 219. Costa Rica, a minus 154, hosting Suriname, who's a plus 400. And your draw is a plus 248. The Club World Cup juice boxes, just so you have them on the weekend. Once again, Messi and friends are a plus 106, playing ATLUTD, who is a plus 233. Draw is a plus 270 to kick off the tournament at the Hard Rock. Bayern Munich, a minus 10,000. Going up against Auckland City, who's a plus 50-50. Draws a plus 24-17. PSG, a minus 116 on Atletico Madrid, who's a plus 291. Draws a plus 273. Palmeiras, plus 164. Slight favorite against Porto, who's a plus 169. Draws a plus 225. Botafogo, favored at a minus 108. Seattle with injuries. We talked to our buddy Niko Moreno about them yesterday. Seattle a plus 279, and your draw is a plus 259. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. We'll get into all of them things. We'll get into all of them things. That's the official term. I know that the Open, was it the PGA or the U.S. Open? Which one? Hang on. Show me golf. So where is the PGA? Is it on Peacock right now? U.S. Open. Oh, it's on Big NBC. Wow. Okay. All right. So it's on Big NBC. Did not know that. All right. So here's your gossip for the morning. Newcastle considering making a £50 million bid for Mykhailo Mudryk. You don't know if he's eligible to play. The B sample came up positive. It's going through the courts. Alex, I imagine you're intrigued. Jude Bellingham is Real Madrid's top target for next summer's transfer window. Wait a second. That's like old. I was like, wait a minute. That's old stuff. Let's get into the new stuff. Liverpool considering a move for Napoli's Victor Osimhen, who spent last season on loan at Galatasaray. Bayer Leverkusen have made Liverpool's £40 million rated central defender Gerald Kwanzaa a summer target. PSG will not allow Bradley Barcola to leave this summer amid interest from Liverpool and Bayern Munich. Manchester United interested in signing Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt in an £85 million deal. Arsenal considering a move for Athletic Bilbao winger Nico Williams, 3-letter paper. However, Williams has been given permission to move to Bayern Munich after they met his release clause. Brentford will block attempts from Thomas Frank to bring Christian Norgard with him. Arsenal have asked Ajax about central defender Joral Hato, 4-letter paper. AC Milan interested in the move for Arsenal's defender Oleksandr Zinchenko. Luka Modric will postpone his move to AC Milan in order to play at the Club World Cup with Real Madrid. Leeds are in talks with Udinese over defender Jacobiol. West Ham and Brentford are both interested in Rangers striker Hamza Igamane after he scored 16 goals in the Premiership last season. 4 Premier League clubs willing to meet the £1.2 million release clause for Japhet Tanganga from Millwall. And former Luton manager Rob Edwards is the lead candidate to take over at Middlesbrough. So that is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll get into the actual news of the morning coming up here in just a little bit. On the TVs today, Once again, Friday night football on FS1, 10:40 start, Portland and San Jose. The Maurice Reveo tournament's in the semifinals. Second semis at noon, France and Mexico on Fox Deportes. They're simulcasting Portland and San Jose tonight. Gold TV, our buddy Nino Torres is going to be busy. Uruguayan Primera, Cerro Largo, Wanderers, Plaza Colonia, and Cerro Porteño at 6. Torque and Progreso also at 6. Apple TV MLS Season Pass simulcasting Portland and San Jose. ESPN Plus has USL Championship. One Knox in Richmond, but that's League One. That's at 6:30. Amazon Prime, NWSL, Bay and Orlando at 10 tomorrow, and at 8 o'clock on Golazo Network, Houston and San Diego. NWSL Plus at 9:30, Utah and Gotham. Paramount Plus simulcasting Houston and San Diego. Just to give you an idea, tomorrow. Big Fox, Big FOX is St. Louis and LAG. Gold Cup at 10:15 on FS1. Club World Cup is on TBS is your free simulcaster for ATLUTD and Inter Miami. Fox Deportes simulcasting MLS. Gold TV quadruple header, 10, 1:30, 4:30, and 7. 2 to NA simulcasting Club World Cup and the Gold Cup. Univision simulcasting Club World Cup and the Gold Cup. Apple TV and MLS Season Pass has all your matchups. MLS Next Pro, Carolina Core, Chicago Fire 2 at 7:30. Copa Tejas, MLS Next Pro Style, North Texas, and Austin FC at 8:45. DAZN simulcasting and lead broadcaster for the Club World Cup. Big matchups in ESPN Plus in the USL Championship. 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 matchups in USL Championship, 3 in USL League One. Naples and Chattanooga, Texoma, South Georgia, Spokane, and Madison. Fox Soccer Plus has a doubleheader in the Canadian Premier League. Halifax and Vancouver at 3, Cavalry and Pacific at 6. Women, Ion has a triple header in the NWSL. Red Stars Seattle at 5, Kansas City Racing Louisville at 7:30, Angel City Encourager at 10. ESPN Plus has the Northern Super League, Ottawa and Montreal at 2. Super League final tomorrow night, 7:30 on Peacock, Tampa Bay and Fort Lauderdale United. Just to give you an idea, on Sunday, Gold Cup on Big FOX. FS1 has matchups, the 2 late matchups, 8:15 and 11. FS2, doubleheader in the Canadian Premier League. TNT simulcasting Club World Cup. ESPN Deportes, Fox Deportes has the final and the third place match for the Maurice Reveo. Peru Primera is on Fox Deportes at 4 on Sunday. Gold TV, River Plate and Peñarol at 2 on Sunday. 2 to NA, Club World Cup, Gold Cup on Sunday. Univision, Club World Cup, Gold Cup on Sunday. Apple TV Season Pass, 3 matches in MLS Next Pro. Revs 2, FC Cincinnati 2, Red Bulls 2, Chattanooga FC, Philadelphia Union 2, Crown Legacy. DAZN, all 4 matchups of the Club World Cup. ESPN Plus, the promotion playoffs in the Spanish Segunda at 1 o'clock, 3 matchups in League One. MLSNextPro.com, 3 matchups in MLS Next Pro. Rapids, St. Louis City, Loons 2, Ventura County, Real Monarchs, Houston Dynamo, women's side, NWSL and Big CBS at 4. And Paramount Plus is simulcasting at 4 o'clock. So that's what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it on the broadcasts today. Now, let's get you into actual news and things before we get you out of here on a weekend. Thank you for all of the comments this morning. And for me, the conversation is always cool to see when you guys are having all of the back and forth that you do on the variety of topics. Big thanks to Neil Sika. Big thanks to Michael Parkhurst for coming in and trying to I try to have the conversation go through the prism of what's going on with Atlanta United and how it applies to mentors and mentees. And I can't thank Parky enough for taking the questions in a real rough night for Atlanta United in the Bronx and applying them and being honest about it as a professional athlete, and at the same time applying them to life as mentors and mentees. It appears, according to the Telegraph, Ange Postecoglou is lined up for a managerial return in Saudi Arabia. ATLUTD is targeting him if the Asian Champions League winners make a change at manager for next season. They expected to receive offers from clubs over the summer. However, the Premier League form suffered in the pursuit of silverware. ATLUTD understood to be looking at Postecoglou should highly rated German coach Matthias Geisel leave. Led the club to the Champions League triumph in May when they beat Kawasaki Frontale in the final with a team that has Ivan Toney, Bobby Firmino, Riyad Mahrez, and Edouard Mendy. He's been tipped to return to Europe, previously linked with West Ham, more recently with RB Leipzig. Postecoglou once again worked with Yokohama Marinos in the J League, sacked at Spurs, and so maybe Ange Postecoglou, after taking the team to Europa and getting a trophy, he might be going back to Saudi Arabia. So we mentioned Florian Wirtz and the 116 million pound Florian Wirtz in the transfer fee. Spurs are looking to hijack the Manchester United move to Bryan Mbeumo. Bryan Mbeumo wants to go to Manchester United, has made that clear, not looking to move to Spurs, not looking to turn this into anything other than, hey, I want to go to Manchester United. Don't chase after me. This is interesting. It is, boy, is this interesting. Okay. Jeremy Wilson from The Telegraph. Spurs are suing Ineos. Spurs lodging a high court claim after the sponsor withdrew from their 5-year multi-million-pound partnership to promote the Grenadier. In a commercial listing under, quote, general commercial contracts and arrangements, Tottenham have lodged a claim against Ineos Automotive Limited, which is a subsidiary of Ineos, that co-owns Manchester United. Spurs and Ineos had announced the multi-million-pound 5-year deal in December of 22 to promote the Grenadier car as the club's official 4x4 vehicle partner. However, talks have been ongoing since at least February over Ineos withdrawing 2 years before the end of the actual deal. Negotiations appear to have failed to find an agreement. Tottenham claim lodged on yesterday, less than a month after they beat Manchester United in the Europa League final. Spurs and Ineos have been in a partnership since 2020, when they were named as the club's official hand sanitizer supplier during the pandemic. Ineos have been cutting ties with a number of leading sports organizations, notably Sir Ben Ainsley's sailing team and All Blacks, the rugby team. Telegraph Sport revealed in February New Zealand Rugby also taking legal action against Ineos for an alleged breach of contract after a 6-year deal to 27 ended early, although an agreement has since been reached. Ineos has said it's being forced into cost-cutting by Europe's extreme, in quotation marks, green carbon taxes and has issued warnings over what it called the, quote, deindustrialization of the continent. Ratcliffe also blamed energy prices and carbon taxes earlier this year for forcing the closure of their synthetic ethanol plant at Grangemouth in Scotland, resulting in the loss of 80 direct roles and an estimated 500 indirect jobs. So keep an eye on Ineos being sued by Manchester United. So you got that. Newcastle stepped up their pursuit for Joao Pedro. They believe a deal can be done going forward. So Mateus Cunha signed for Manchester United. So keep an eye on that as well. Let's look at the Guardian, see if we're missing anything there, and we'll find out what other news is going on this morning. So once again, 116 million pound deal to Florian Wirtz from Leverkusen, 100 million plus 16 million in potential add-ons, making him the most expensive British transfer of all time, eclipsing the 115 million pound purchase of Moises Caicedo by Chelsea, undergoing a medical, finalizing the transfer in the coming days. Personal terms already agreed. Also on the board, it is where is it? Real Madrid have announced the signing of teenage sensation Franco Mastantuono. We talked about him yesterday with our buddy Nino Torres and Goal TV. From River Plate, most of the top clubs in Europe eager to acquire him. Xabi Alonso has won that race. Juve head coach Igor Tudor has signed a new deal with the club running until June of 2027, option of a further year. And once again, he'll lead the club into the Club World Cup, where they're going to play Manchester City, Al Ain, and Wydad AC. Brentford are expected, according to Ed Aarons, to target an external candidate to replace Thomas Frank, despite holding talks with Keith Andrews about stepping up from his role as set-piece coach. And we mentioned Spurs and Ineos and the lawsuit that is attached there. Bayer Leverkusen expected to make an offer for Manchester City's James McAtee when the transfer window reopens, according to multiple reports. Currently captaining the U21s in Slovakia, any move to Germany cannot progress until after the U21 Euros and the Club World Cup. Brian Barry Murphy looks like he might be taking over at Cardiff, leaving Leicester. Let's see. David Beckham got a knighthood in the King's birthday honors. So happy birthday to the King. Happy knighthood to now Sir David Beckham. Sir David Beckham. So I guess we now have to call him Sir David Beckham from now on. This will be where Nick would come in and give a great impression as to Sir David Beckham. Boy. Let's see. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else that I have missed. Wolves interested in signing Celta Vigo midfielder Fer Lopez, identified as a potential replacement for Mateus Cunha. Let's see. Brentford want in excess of $60 million for Mbeumo. Mbumo's preferred option is still Manchester United. Spurs are aware of this, but that was before Thomas Frank joined. So does that sway anyway? Manchester United initially had an offer of 45 plus 10. They also have Antoine Semenyo and Tyler Dibbling on the list. Bayer Leverkusen have made an inquiry on Justin Kluivert as a potential Florian Wirtz replacement. That's more driven by Eric Ten Hag. Bournemouth do not wish to sell. That's courtesy of Alex Crook over at TalkSport. So that's where that lies. And once again, a lot of the news this morning, Florian Wirtz, 100 plus 16.5 million in add-ons that are attached to the whole blanking thing. And then yesterday we did mention at Brighton, it did confirm Charalampos Kostoulis is going to join July 1st from Olympiacos. 35 plus 2 in euros, signed a 5-year deal. So that budgets out to $7 million a year when it comes to how it affects your cap, basically, is what it looks like there. That's going to be the fun part of that one. So, also, I'm trying to see what else have I missed? What else have I missed? Oh, yeah. Once again, if you missed it, there's a great talk at Sky with our buddy Lloyd Hours and what's going on with the Marshall Islands. We got to send out another couple of scarves. Oh, yeah, I got to cut the promos. I haven't let everybody know what you can do to be a part of everything here at SDH. Okay, so since we'll start there with the Marshall Islands, get all the Marshall Islands gear. I'm serious. And if you can be in Springdale, Arkansas, the middle of August for the 14th and the 16th for the Outrigger Challenge Cup, please go. I know that we'll be out there in some manner, way, shape, or form. I might have to be out there just for the championship game on the 16th because of high school football commitments on the week of the 15th and the 14th. But go. They got the money cleared on the Kickstarter campaign, and they're bringing, I believe it is Guam, couldn't make it. So I think it is the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Turks and Caicos. And I think they're trying to add a fourth, and it might be a local. Keep an eye on that. But Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, go buy the gear. I've got to send out 2 scarves, one to England, one to Illinois. And so, like I said, I've got about 10 on the other side of this wall. So you want to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, go to the Kickstarter campaign, buy the gear, help them out, buy the scarf. It's modeled by Maddie on their website. I've got them here. You buy all the other gear, comes from England. You buy the scarf, it comes from me. Olive in York has the SDH jersey that you can buy, and it is the Navy jersey, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for going across the front. We could not do anything without our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thank them for being great signature partners here at SDH. Consult with Alex and Abby as to how you want to have the personalization on the back. Do you want it to be a white personalization with letters and numerals, or do you want it to be light blue, Carolina blue, Columbia blue, however, on a Navy jersey? So consult with Abby and Alex about which one might be better for you. Olive in York, that helps out our Soccer for Good campaigns in 2025. It is Beyond Goals Mentoring on one sleeve, and it is Soccer for Good on the other sleeve. If you go back on Greg Garza's Instagram, you can see him doing blue steel as he models the jersey with Maddie and Sophia. Speaking of which, tonight, Georgia Impact, 7 o'clock at Denmark. And they are going to be a big match late here in the year in the sprint that is the Peachtree Division in the Southeast Conference. Next home match for Decatur FC is next Friday. And they've got the back-to-backer with Georgia Impact, and then they finish up the regular season on the 27th with the matchup at Decatur against Chattanooga FC to finish up the regular season. So keep an eye on all of that. Grady Baby Co. You can help out our friends at Grady Baby, and you can also help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta Public School System by picking up the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear, the gold embossed lettering on either the red or the black, either the T-shirt or the sweatshirt. You have the SDH Network logo on one cuff. You have on the other cuff, you have the Grady Baby logo. Once again, soccer's just better in Atlanta. Gold embossed here, and you can help out APS middle school soccer programs with our friends at Grady Baby. Go to soccerdownhere.net. You can go into the shop. You can get all the new SDH logoed gear. You can also get logo retrified stuff from Jason. I believe it's the Ruckus and the Attack. You can buy that on the website as well. Also, let's see. Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. You can get all the BNs, Say Nuestro Telesitio for the fans, Liga 1 Max Pro, Tigo Sports, Canal 4 that's attached to what you see on the BNs these days, and our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV, calling everything right now in the Intermedio in Uruguay. He's got a very, very busy weekend. He's just very, very busy anyway. So you can go to fanatis.ftz.co/soccer down here. Helps out Fanatis with subscribers. Helps out us, and it helps you out to continue being a true degenerate when it comes to anything and everything going on in the world of soccer. What else have I missed? Us in the shop, Fanatis. Be a Fanatico, $10 a year. And so Derek has the Carolina blue letters and numerals on the personalization. So I believe that's what the kids say. So Derek is saying the Carolina blue kit is ace. I'm guessing that that means that that's a good thing. So Derek says it's ace. To go with LOL, sir. David Beckham, you now call him a sir, Sir David. Nick does that better than I do. So once again, become a Fanatico, $10 a year. And what do you do for $10 a year? Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. I think I typed it in right. I think I did. I did. There you go. All right. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. $10 a year. $10 a year. And you can join and be a Fanatico, and then you get to be a part of the conversations on the Chant app. You can vote for your MVP, player of the match, have the conversations with fellow Fanaticos, and there are a boatload of discounts that you can get right here by being a part of everything. A lot of breweries and restaurants in the northern section of Atlanta, plus a resort in Costa Rica. I'm not kidding. It's about 2 hours north of San Jose, Chateau Arnaud. And if you wanted to be at a chateau and have a really cool time, you get a discount code when you're a Fanatico. $10 a year. Helps out our Soccer for Good campaign. And then what you do is you drive the 2 hours to the airport in San Jose. You can go in and watch at the National Stadium, go watch Herediano, Alajuelense, or Saprissa at the Monsters Cage. But you can stay at Chateau Arnaud. You get a discount code. $10 a year. Soccer down here. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. And you can get all the stuff, and I mean it, to help things out there as well. So let me see if I've got everybody. All right. So Olive and York. It is becoming a Fanatico through the Chant app. You get to download that there. Club World Cup. I know a lot of you are volunteering. I can't wait to hear your stories as we get ready for the matchup on Monday with Chelsea and with LAFC. Then, all right. So I think I've got all of the promos done and all the different things that we do for Soccer for Good. I think I've got everything done. Okay. So once again, it was another rough night for Atlanta United. On Monday, it'll be Bart Keeler and it will be Abe Gordon. And we got 6 matches left before you go into the summer secondary transfer window. What's it going to look like in the 6 weeks where you've got Gold Cup, you've got Club World Cup, you've got Atlanta United, and then you come out of the beginning of the transfer window at the end of July, you're into Leagues Cup. So it's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of national stuff, and it's just, frankly, a lot of soccer. The summer of soccer is not even there yet. Spring of soccer is still for another 8 days, and then you end up with the summer of soccer, and we're going to be here with you every step of the way. Like I said, we don't know what we're doing with Club World Cup coverage after matches and before. We're still trying to find out, but we don't want to anger FIFA considering what's going to be happening in a year. But when we know, we'll let you know. Set your notifications for all the stuff. We might have an update on Monday as to where things stand. But we'll keep you posted as we get ready for Club World Cup action on Monday here at Mercedes-Benz inside Atlanta, or maybe Atlanta Stadium, or whatever they're going to call it. I think you're okay, but it's a FIFA venue. It might just be Atlanta Stadium. We'll find out. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. So enjoy your Major League Soccer this weekend. Thanks to Neil Seeker for dropping by. Thanks to Parky for dropping by. Thanks to you for dropping by, as you always do. Since it is the end of yet another week, it means one thing. And when I find it, we'll play it, and we'll have a fantastic weekend. It was great to see everybody yesterday. Great to see everybody here in the conversations today. Don't be strangers, and we'll be back at it again on Monday. Be there for each other. And if you have the chance to go see a match of any level this weekend, go do it. And then share that experience with others. And I'll talk about it again on Monday. WPSL starts this weekend too. Maddie and Jason with Georgia Impact. That is tonight at Denmark High School. So play it safe, everybody. Mucho plot, y'all. It's the end of another week. So that means we get to do this.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.